Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is a bittersweet night, a bittersweet evening. While I was fully aware that DX had to be sent to the Shadow Realm this week for the betterment of the Six, I can't help but feel a certain type of way about his departure because I do want to give him his roses. I do want to acknowledge he played a fantastic game. I do want to see him get America's favorite player. I do want to see him play again in the future if possible. All right? So understand, ladies and gentlemen, just because I chose the Six over DX doesn't mean DX isn't seventh place to me. I think he's my seventh favorite player this season. I believe Christian was my eighth favorite, and that's why I told DX you shouldn't do what you do, because doing it will turn you into a massive threat. In this rant, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to react to the vengeance of the kings that truly transpired tonight, and we're also going to react to Queen of the Tippy Toes, Miss Tiffany, T. Mitch, winning her first HOH of the season, which I'm sure has a lot of people excited. In this rant, we're going to pontificate on all the different routes this week can go down. But if you're a fan of the Cookout, kick your feet up because we're sitting good. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored, Hall of Fame, Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smid Dog Trill, the Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Big Brother US Season 23, all of the above on that ISAT test and ACT. You know what it is. And I dropped my phone during that intro because I was going so hard. But ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the 27th Big Brother 23 rant entitled Vengeance of Kings. You reap what you sow in this game, DX. The backdooring of Christian gave everyone the reason to want that smoke with you. I've seen certain fans this week say, "Oh, Xavier's a hypocrite. How can he say he doesn't like emotional players when he targeted DX out of emotion for what he did to Christian?" Not necessarily true. All right? Xavier targeted DX from a logical point of view. If the Six didn't exist, I'm pretty sure Xavier probably would have cut a deal with DX by now if the Six wasn't there. Xavier always acknowledged that DX was the biggest threat to the Six because, like Kylan, Xavier and Kylan were always worried they could not protect these women from DX once it gets to a certain number. Understand, no one wanted a scenario like we got in Big Brother Canada 5 with Kevin Martin. Remember that? Remember how Ika Wong dominated that season? From start to finish, damn near. Well, at least from the moment she got rid of Netta, she was dominating. But her biggest mistake, in my opinion, was sending Bruno out before Kevin. In my opinion, Bruno did not have win-out potential. Kevin had it every time, to the point where Kevin Martin had to be sent home during a triple eviction during BB Can 4. So understand, I am the almanac. I understand the history of this game. And I understand that a player like DX, you can't allow him to you can't let a lion like that, or a capable lion like that, who's capable of going on a hunt and being apex predator, you cannot allow this person to survive the block. And see, because DX created such a great argument for why Christian shouldn't survive the block week 5, based off the mathematics, and I told patrons this, well, the mathematics is even worse to keep DX now, because 2 weeks from now, because you know you're not getting him out this week because he would have got coup d'etat, because he would have got secret HOH, because he would have got Coin of Destiny, so it would have took another 2 weeks to get him out. In those 2 weeks, it's a 67% chance to be picked for every veto. A week after that is damn near 100% chance to get picked for every veto. Shout outs to Lee Parks for the super chat. I appreciate you. And I believe you're already have your wrench. So that's why. Oh, yeah, she does. She's right there. Okay, cool. So that frees me. I don't have to go to the bat cave necessarily. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, okay? From a black fan perspective, there is no emotion towards me wanting DX gone this week. It was all logical. It was all to guarantee we get our first ever black winner. I mean, no disrespect to the Asian community, but y'all have at least had June Song win this game. All right? We haven't had that yet. We don't even know what it feels like, coach. So please understand, if we celebrate or if we seem to be a bit insensitive to DX's plight, it's because we've seen black folks put in that position, but this time it's not happening to us. So we feel as if we have the right to now kick our feet up and go, now people see what we've been saying. And I feel like every community, not just the Asian community, I feel like the white community to an extent, now they get it. Because now they see what it's like to just be hunted because you look different. Now, I'm not trying to turn this into a political rant. I'm just saying at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I want to speak on these talking points for the black community as a whole. That way people understand we don't have no Asian hate. We don't even hate DX. We actually love DX. But he needed to go. And that's just the game. That's just the game, coach. You feel me? I don't want to. By the way, shout outs to Miss Selena for the super chat as well, coach. I believe that was Miss Selena, wasn't it? Hold on. If that wasn't Miss Selena, my bad if I miscategorized who gave the super chat out. But I want to make sure you have your wrench as well if you did give the super chat and that wasn't Miss Selena. Everyone knows she's the Mighty Mod Queen. She's had the wrench as long as anyone else. But I want to make sure if that wasn't her that this person is gifted with their wrench just in case. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen, and please like the video as you come in. Please share this with all the fans of Big Brother that y'all rock with. Oh, it was Latoya L. Thank you so much, Latoya, for your super chat, coach. Thank you so much. You now have your Infinity Stone, Latoya. And I was a big fan of Latoya during Big Brother Canada 9. And I'd argue Latoya's game was very similar to Tiffany's from a concrete standpoint. Both of them excelled at last-second flips if they were able to do so. Now, I believe Victoria was the best player from that season. A lot of people believe Tiffany is the best player this season. I think last week proved to us all Xavier is the superior player. This man was gone for an entire day, and still could make up no ground on all of the great work Xavier laid out. So at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want, but this brother's brilliant. Tonight, he showed a different side of himself. Earlier today on feeds, he showed a different side of himself. He actually had time to tell fans his backstory, break down how he ended up getting into law school, how he tore his ACL when he wanted to be a basketball player, and how he needed to pivot. You know, these type of things are the type of things when he reveals on finale night, I think is going to be what tips the scale. But the reason why I'm mentioning these things is because this brother was in some dire straits in that room, all right? But some of the talking points that he discussed in that room, I would like to dive into right now, and that will be part of the live feeds portion, because we pretty much know now with the Cookout member winning HOH, we pretty much know that this week is going to be pretty smooth, barring some production interference, which we'll get into towards the end, but I do want to give credit where it is due. So when Xavier was in solitary confinement, he said he trusts Alyssa, Hannah, and Big D the most in this house. He trusts Alyssa because he knows she trusts him. He trusts Hannah because she's the most logical Cookout member that isn't emotional. And he trusts Big D significantly, but he sometimes says too much. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why this is such key information is because it backs up everything I've ever said about this alliance. Understand, my problems with Tiffany was always the fact that she put herself before the 6, while all the other 5 members put the 6 before themselves. So my thing is, hey, hold up now. It's one thing to be playing the game. It's a whole nother thing when you know that your plan dictates you don't look out for your own game until the 6. Tiffany kept going against her own plan. So for me to see her on tonight's episode in the edit to make it seem like these men think they run and stuff, but it's my plan. And I'm like, yeah, but you keep trying to go against that plan. How do you glory hunt and take credit for a plan that's working, but visibly and physically work super hard to go against that plan by trying to keep DX? She's all over the place. And I need y'all to understand, even her winning this HOH is not going to help her game too much. And here's why. Tiffany is between a rock and a hard place by winning this HOH. I think she really needed DX to stay to be able to double tap and really take advantage of DX staying with her HOH, because then maybe DX doesn't feel the need to use the coup d'etat. If he does use the coup d'etat during Tiffany's HOH week, that can make an enemy out of Tiffany to DX. I don't think DX would have crossed her necessarily. But by her winning this HOH this week, ladies and gentlemen, what you all have to understand is Tiffany pretty much is in a position where she can't nominate Claire. Shout outs to Nanye for the super chat. If she cannot nominate Claire, that means her only nominees initially have to be who? Alyssa and SB. Now, if I know Tiffany, she's going to try to talk about a house narrative and a house perception where Big D has to go up. But Tiffany, you need to be careful here. If you try to create a reason, because understand, SB's under the assumption the jackpot is still working. That's why Tiffany avoided the block last week during SB's HOH reign. So If Tiffany tries to create the narrative that SB cannot touch the block initially because of this jackpot facade, so Big D has to take one for the team, Tiffany, you better be careful. Because if Big D touches this block, he is going to win that coin of destiny, and he's going to send Claire home during your HOH to embarrass you something serious. Ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany, you better throw up Alyssa and SB. And also understand, ladies and gentlemen, Xavier threw the HOH tonight like a king. Kylan questioned the most through the HOH this week like a king. Understand, these brothers have always been down for the six. Kylan has stressed on two cams, that he feels frustrated. He feels the same way Tiffany feels like she's a bit handcuffed because she can't pivot the way she would love to because of the six being here. Kylan has these same frustrations, all right? Understand, yes, Kylan won an HOH he shouldn't have won, which protected SB, but Tiffany choked that. Kylan didn't try to win that. So Kylan and Xavier had to prove 2 weeks ago was a complete fluke by choking this as well. I understand there's a lot of sisters who look at Kylan goo-goo gaga and over SB. They say Xavier goo-goo gaga and over Alyssa. But the way these men personally feel has never once swayed the mission in their mind. The only person who personally felt something that made them sway how they felt towards the six was Tiffany. It's important for me to create that dichotomy because I feel as if projectionism is happening. These brothers are being painted in the light that Tiffany should be painted just because they're men. It's not fair. So when I see DX on tonight's edit say what is and what isn't fair, DX, come on, man. Black folks ain't trying to hear what is and isn't fair when we went through 20 years of this. 20 years versus 20 days, bro. 20 years versus 20 days. And let's be real, June Song won 16, 17 years ago. So you ain't even 20 years yet in. So at the end of the day, there's levels to this. I'm not trying to compare our trauma or our downtrodden experiences in any way to yours. But what I am saying is, at the end of the day, coach, have a little bit of social awareness to understand, hey, bro, it's our time, bro. It's our time, you know? And at the end of the day, understand, ladies and gentlemen, production tried to get DX to play for this roulette 3 times this past week. He said, I don't need your advice. I got this. Coin of Destiny is meant for me. So imagine my surprise tonight to hear Julie Chen, right before the HOH comp begins, tell this house, oh, we have all of these envelopes over here. All of y'all have to grab one. Some will be 50, some will be 100. Ladies and gentlemen, my antenna came out. My conspiracy tinfoil hat antenna started shooting up towards the roof. What do you mean, Julie? You mean to tell me? All right, y'all know me. I'm going to break this down. You mean to tell me the minute the golden boy of the edit, DX, gets sent home, who it felt like Coin of Destiny was rigged for him to win, you mean to tell me now all of a sudden you want to give everybody equal opportunity? You want to turn this huge twist into a participation trophy now? Wait a minute. Hold on, man. I can't help but notice this is all results-based oriented. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, if this same production team was trying to get DX to compete for roulette 3 times, then that means their plan was to bring these envelopes out so he could get the 125 back he would have spent for roulette. Think about it. My conspiracy is, if DX would have been saved this week due to the vote and not spend his 125, the envelopes wouldn't exist because it would have increased the percentage chance he would win Coin of Destiny. But because he isn't here, and because now Claire is the Apex production pet by proxy, now this is designed for Claire to possibly win it. You got to read between the lines, y'all. See, this is why I'm the greatest. This is why I'm the best. Because even when I don't have the notes, I spit the gospel. Why now do the envelopes need to show show themselves to us? Why now? Huh? Why not before? Big D threw an entire veto comp for 100 BB cash. You mean to tell me you always had a backup plan in case no one took that money? Then what was the point of putting it in a veto? You see my point here. That was meant for Claire to get because they knew Claire would stay this week anyway because DX didn't get picked for veto. You got to read between the lines of what's going on. They want Claire to win that twist so she can take out a Cookout member during Tiffany's HOH. And it's going to make Tiffany look even worse because she wouldn't let Claire go over Brittany. Ladies and gentlemen, see, this is why I try my best to bring people along slowly. I understand everybody ain't going to see what I see when I see it. But it's funny. I told y'all a gender war was looming weeks before it happened. And now in the edit, it's a gender war. Y'all, Listen, I promise you, I don't know no one in production. I'm just really good at social behavioral patterns. I'm really good at figuring out what someone's motivations are and what they're likely to do when things hit the fan. I've been spot on about Tiffany. I've been spot on about Kylan. I've been spot on about Hannah. And see, I'm happy I never went so crazy over Hannah because this past week, ladies and gentlemen, to the people who aren't patrons, Hannah finally put on her big girl pants and said, Tiffany, I'm not playing your game no more. Understand, the reason why DX did not stay tonight is because Hannah realized, wait a minute, it's best for my game to let DX go too. See, Tiffany was trying to convince Azza and Hannah it's best for both of their games to become feminists in 2 seconds and keep DX. How does keeping a man over woman make you a feminist, though? You see the hypocrisy. Tiffany wants us to believe she believes women can keep winning out the rest of the game, but she wanted DX to stay to be the shield for the women, though. See the mixed signals? But to get back to Hannah, what y'all got to understand is Hannah is a genius. Legitimately. Right? Literally. She's a genius. The girl is super smart. I feel like Tiffany is underestimating how smart this lady is. And see, Tiffany is twice the age of Hannah. So for me, I'm willing to give Hannah more rope because she has less life experience. For Tiffany, I give her less rope because she is the elder of the 6. And I expect more codified rhetoric from you because you've experienced more racism, I would assume, especially being from Detroit. So understand, I'm holding people accountable based off merit. I'm holding people accountable in a logical manner. This isn't personal to me. Someone black is gonna win. I'm enjoying the ride, coach. I just don't want us getting caught up in gender battles, taking this side over that side, when at the end of the day, the side should be the 6. I've seen some sisters this week cape so hard for DX, they don't even want, they fully proved everything I predicted they would do this week. That's why I just sat back and laughed. We had certain sisters celebrating Xavier solitary confinement, begging it would give Tiffany the opening to cause this flip. But how is Tiffany this amazing player if Xavier has to be in jail for a day for her game to work? How can you create the argument she is carrying this group if she needs Xavier to be in the shadow realm for 24 hours for her game to be more impactful? See, people prove my point when they argue with me. And I'm just trying to get them to see, bro, we're low-key saying the same thing, but you're a little too emotional right now. You got to understand, we both want the same thing. You just low-key want a black woman to be the winner more than anything else. Me, I don't care who wins as long as they black. Tiffany's gameplay would have made it harder for someone black to win, period. Okay? That's the logic. Why is this so difficult to understand? I don't know. But for whatever reason, that's what happened. So understand, Hannah was smart enough to understand she can let DX go because she has a final 3 with Kylan. She has a final 3 with Xavier. No matter what, when DX goes, she has a strong guy that's willing to take her to final 3. And Hannah believes she has yoke ability to be able to win the final HOH and cut the final guy to win the game anyway. So Hannah's sitting good. And by Xavier, and let's go back to the feeds of earlier today because this all comes home full circle. Y'all know me, when I freestyle, I got a point to prove. By Xavier in solitary confinement admitting he trusts Hannah the most among the 6 because she is logical and not emotional, it backs up the reason Hannah had for letting DX go. See, everyone was bashing Hannah and Azza for the past 2 days just because they wouldn't play Tiffany's game. It was disgusting. And these are the same people that want you to believe they're Azza and Hannah fans, but they would so easily turn on them just for not doing what Tiffany wanted. You're a DX fan. You're a Tiffany fan. But you're not an Azza and Hannah fan. Because if you truly were, you would see into the future and go, wait a minute, Azza and Hannah are in a better position when DX leaves than Tiffany. It makes sense they would be reluctant. But instead, people get emotional, and they make it seem like, no, the black women should stick together no matter what. But let's keep it a bean. Let's keep it a bean. In high school, what was the majority of the fight y'all saw? Fellas, wasn't it between black women? I'm just keeping it real. Brothers, we knew if we scrap it out, someone gonna get slept. It would get too serious. So 9 times out of 10, we knew the diplomatic approach was the smartest approach. Usually, in my experience, because I don't want to just go solely off anecdotal evidence here, but my point is, in my experience, black women are quicker to fight amongst themselves than black men are. So at the end of the day, the reason why I'm saying all this is that Tiffany fans do not want to give Tiffany any accountability. Understand, DX stays this week if Tiffany just treats Azah with more respect before jury. It's that simple. But instead of these people acknowledging this, they'd rather bash Azah for not being Tiffany's little punk. Oh, Azah, forgive her for the way she mistreated you earlier in the game. Xavier doesn't treat you that good either. Yeah, but Xavier didn't portray Azah as an angry black woman stereotype to a whole bunch of non-black players so they wouldn't want to socially work with her over her. That's what Tiffany did. And see, Azah, playing such a straight up game, she was able to make up the ground on Tiffany without having to play dirty the way Tiffany did towards her. So this is karma in its own way. So understand, I'm happy for Tiffany that she's HOH because her game is by far the worst among the six right now. She needed this HOH. She needs to create some bonds with some people. But in the same token, ladies and gentlemen, accountability is important in our community and it's important in this game. You cannot win the game unless you own the stuff you did in the past. If Tiffany believes all of her mistakes weren't mistakes, then if she even gets to the end, she's not going to own her game well enough to win over any of these black women anyway. I think Xavier, Kylan, and Big D reward Hannah before Tiffany because of how Tiffany treated these dudes. That has nothing to do with them hating black women. It has nothing to do with them preferring non-black women to date. It has everything to do with how you treat people. Instead of running to some alibi or some loaded excuse, some defense mechanism, let's keep it a bean and let's admit, for being such a great social player, Tiffany made a lot of social mistakes. And that's why I'm saying, Tiffany, do not throw a Big D as some pawn to get out SB or to get out Alyssa. And see, here's another thing. Xavier's the third nom this week because he threw the HOH, meaning he is sitting there as a sitting duck. He was willing to be a nom during this week where a lot can go wrong, especially with this coup d'etat power. He was willing to sit this week for his people. He was willing to do it. Kylan was willing to throw this HOH so SB could go this week. These brothers are down. I don't want to see the narrative being that these brothers aren't down for the six anymore because they've really exposed a lot of people's hot takes. Oh, Kylan's going to go for this HOH again. Xavier's not going to want to be a third nominee this week with this coin of destiny looming over everyone's head and he has no money. He's not going to do it. He's selfish. Trust me. This brother is so down. He took all of those punishments to get out the six's biggest threat, and now he's going to sit on that block as a negative side effect for what he was willing to do for this group. He deserves some respect. He deserves some respect. Now, to get to some other notes that I have, ladies and gentlemen, we got to expose some things DX did wrong last night. The reason why he couldn't buy Azah's vote, even if he gave her his BB bucks, is because of this reason, ladies and gentlemen. DX showed Tiffany and Claire Azah's studying technique Wednesday night. If you all have been watching feeds, you know Azah likes to use Fruit Loops. She likes to break them in half, and she likes to discern what different comps are which, who won what comp based off what's broken in half, what color the Fruit Loop is. All right, we've seen her in the back bedroom work on this. That's my point. Now, understand, DX teaching Claire and Tiffany Azah's study technique, that was so stupid if you wanted to stay in this house. So stupid. If you're going to tell us in the edit you believe it comes down to Azah's vote, then why would you show her other people her recipe? Now, DX tried to make this seem like an honest mistake, but if he really cared about Azah, he wouldn't have snitched. This is like when Kevin gave the recipe to the Mexicans on Snowfall. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Remember the black dude gave the recipe on how to cook to the rival set? And shortly after that, he got sent to the Shadow Realm. But my point is, that's a cardinal sin. You don't do things like that, bro. You don't betray your people like that. And at the end of the day, this man claimed to care about Azah so much, but he wanted her thrown up this week. Tiffany almost volunteered to go up this week to save DX. Hannah almost volunteered to go up this week to save DX. Tiffany almost pitched to get Hannah throw up to save DX. All they did was further justify why Xavier wanted him gone so badly because they were too emotionally intertwined with this dude. That's just the facts, you know? And at the end of the day, DX, in my opinion, you made yourself into a Fruit Loop dingus when you told them about Oz's Fruit Loop recipe. Let's keep it real. He's a Fruit Loop dingus for that. I don't even know why he did that, Coach. Like, what are you thinking, Coach? You know? Like, Ozza talked to Cam. She was so shocked this man did that shit. She was like, DX, what the hell, man? Like, okay, it's some Fruit Loops. Okay, she's not the first person to ever invent this type of studying technique. But it's the idea that DX's loyalty is so much to Claire and Tiffany that he would teach them Ozza's recipe. It's like you're telling Ozza, even if you stay, there are still at least one woman that will never be put below Ozza. You're showing her Tiffany will always have you before her. So how does it benefit Ozza's game to keep you? See, what benefits Ozza's game at this point doesn't benefit Tiffany's game. Because that's the games both of them are playing. They play an anti-game of, they're basically polar opposite players. They're both social players, but Ozza relies on the great moments, cooking food, making people feel good. Tiffany relies on high-octane, reactionary-based emotions. All right? Now, Ozza's emotional as well, but the majority of the time she has been emotional early in the game. When I called her out for it, I'm going to own that. But the reason why I called her out early in the game, because that was around the time Tiffany was actually playing great. When I started not calling out Ozza and started calling out Tiffany was around the time Tiffany started playing bad. See, the Tiffany fans want you to believe she's playing just as good as she was before jury as she's playing during jury. That is a fallacy. That is a complete lie. That is people pandering to you, black women, placating to you, believing you're not intelligent enough to see the real truth in front of you. I believe you're intelligent enough to where I don't have to hide the truth from you. From my vantage point, I should be more respected for keeping it a bean. But it seems as if y'all allow these grifters to get away with a lot right now. Even a lot of content creators that have been anti-black their whole career. Now all of a sudden, because they pro-Tiffany, when it's convenient, they're more pro-black than me? Come on now. Y'all falling for the bait and switch. Only reason why so many non-black people love Tiffany is because she provided a path for a non-black winner. Y'all fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Y'all fell for it. It's okay. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, by Tiffany winning this HOH, she doesn't have much choices. I mean, there's only 3 other people that are non-Cookout. Xavier is going to be on the block. If I know Tiffany, she's going to want Alyssa to be on the block next to Xavier. It's all about who is that other spot going to be fulfilled. Who is going to fill that other spot? And at the end of the day, I believe she will want to throw up SB off GP to show DX in that jury house, look, I got your back. I'm going to get her out. But I could just see Tiffany talking herself into throwing up Big D. I could just see it. I could see it. And I could see in her mind, her believing if SB wins the veto, it's best case scenario that Big D touched the block first. I could see that. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not watching these feeds. Hopefully y'all are, and hopefully in y'all questions, it will be more so slanted towards what the strategy is dictating on feeds when we get to that portion of the rant. But yeah, so Xavier also said if Cookout didn't exist, he would have taken all of the Kings to Final Four. He says if he wasn't a member of Team Kings, he would have wanted to be on Team Aces over Brent, but he is very happy with Team Kings. Xavier then pisses off black women more by saying his biggest BB crushes are Jessica from BB19, Haley from BB20, and Ariadna Gutierrez from BB Celebrity 2. Now, to be fair, Ariadna Gutierrez, I ranked as the finest woman to ever step into that house. I don't blame your ex for that decision, but you gotta know better than to say Jessica Graff and Haley. You gotta, come on, bro. If I'm gonna call out other people for being tone deaf, that was tone deaf, brother. Now, me, I'm not gonna nitpick off of your preference and let that determine how I analyze your gameplay. I think your gameplay is elite. I'm just saying, hey, bro, for what's best for everyone involved, leave those type of opinions to yourself until the season's over. All right, I think that would be best for everyone because these type of comments just create more division amongst our community. It keeps the fans of the Six not wanting to stay fans of the Six as a whole, and it makes them want the women to flip on the men. You know. So at the end of the day, I'm going to hold Xavier accountable there. You should know better than to say comments like that, at least out loud. But other than that, I thought he said a lot of valuable things during this 24 hours of solitary confinement. And I thought it was a very humanizing moment for Xavier's game altogether. Um, yeah, that's my thought there. So let's get into Thursday's episode. I pretty much, you know what? The only thing I really didn't mention was Xavier dressing up as Lucius, aka the Big Chill, to vote out DX. Honestly, I thought this was a legendary moment. When you take into context why Xavier wants DX gone, when you take into context the idea that the Six came together to take this man out, and then when you add the added context of the fact that this man brought that wig and that outfit in with him to the 24-hour confinement beforehand, he prepped this entire situation just to send DX home. Number one, I got to give him credit, because this is a lot like the Super Bowl shuffle from the 1985 Bears. You got to have some balls to plan to do that, because this could have easily blew up in Xavier's face when he was gone for 24 hours. DX stays. And see, what you also got to remember, Kylan threw DX a sympathy vote. When I'm watching this live tonight, I thought DX was staying. I'm going to be honest, because I thought Tiffany would give the sympathy vote before Kylan. I thought Kylan would back up what SB wanted. I thought the vote would be 5-2 no matter what. But when I saw Kylan throw a vote towards keeping DX, I said, wait a minute now. All it takes is Tiffany, Hannah, and Azza now, and they have the votes. Now, unfortunately, Azza already promised to SB she would get DX out. So that was the reason why it never worked. Also, DX had his Fruit Loop Dingus moment from a night ago, and that really made things dead. So at the end of the day, accountability is the central thesis of this rant. DX needs to be held accountable for the Fruit Loop incident. Tiffany needs to be held accountable for how she mistreated Azza throughout this game. In my opinion, if Tiffany treats Azza with more respect, and if Tiffany understands the value of black women when a lot of these other non-black people were still around, then I think her implementation of this strategy would make a lot more sense to these sisters. But it's the idea that Tiffany has played the most anti-black among the Six. Then all of a sudden, now she's pro-black women. It's like, wait a minute now. You have shown Claire more love this season than any of these black women. Now you want to tell us a week after Operation Save Becky that the black women need to be respected? The black women are running the show? Wait a minute. See, the grift is just crazy with her to me. She's all over the place. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. People can say whatever they want about me, but my rants, they string together really well. My foreshadowing game is top tier, right? If I do contradict myself 20 rants later, it's usually I'm warranted in that because someone does something in the game to deserve me criticizing them, right? Like, I'm not someone who just, as I go, I just wing it. And what I'm noticing is Tiffany is improvising a lot. And the problem with improvising is when you do well, it looks exceptional. When you do bad, it looks like a train wreck. And unfortunately for her game, even with this HOH reign, I don't really think this HOH will help her get her way into that Six any deeper than she already is. I mean, this is one of them HOHs that kind of no one really should want. I mean, Kylan and X couldn't win it because at the end of the day, if SB was to be the target, neither one of them could throw her up. It wouldn't make sense for their games, for the house perception, or at least the fake narrative that doesn't involve the Cookout's existence. So they can't do it. Meaning, Tiffany can at least get the shine from taking out SB, her nemesis, the woman she's wanted out since week 4 or week 5. Well, actually, she's won her out since week 4 because that was when she started the narrative about Kylan and her being too damn close. So yeah, so at the end of the day, she has wanted her gone for since week 4. I want Tiffany to get her moment to get out SB because I think that would be great for her. And at this point, I don't want her to be so mad at Kylan anymore either. So I think for the Cookout's benefit, it benefits us all if SB leaves this week. Mainly because SB has the high profile. She has the 4-star wanted. She has the 4 wanted stars from GTA after taking down DX. By taking out such a huge threat, you created a huge power vacuum. This is like Loki. You feel it, dig me? No spoilers. But once you send someone so important to the Shadow Realm, you gotta fit that power vacuum. If you're not capable of fitting it, someone else is. Keep it a bean. And I was hoping Hannah would win this HOH. Now, I'm under the impression that Hannah could have thrown this to Tiffany. I'm not sure. Hannah and Tiffany had a plan during this HOH to cough if the answer's A, or do something else if the answer was B. Now, this ended up being a true false, so technically speaking, it was the same difference. But at the end of the day, best case scenario for the cookout, Alyssa didn't win HOH. But let's keep it real. The fact that the coin of destiny exists means it doesn't matter. But because production introduced these envelopes, now it does matter. Now I'm happy Alyssa didn't win HOH, because now it feels like production tried to pull a fast one over the 6. So that's where I'm going to leave my freestyle. Now I want to answer y'all questions. I want to hear y'all thoughts on these envelopes gate. I want to hear y'all thoughts on DX leaving. Do you want to give him your roses in your question? I'm willing to answer anything regarding him. If you have anything regarding Tiffany, Hannah, if you want me to go further, deep dive even further on why Hannah wanted DX to go, fine. I don't mind whichever direction we go in tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because this is a pure freestyle rant for the most part. And I'm enjoying myself. And I truly appreciate y'all coming here tonight. The Patreon rant last night was 2 hours and 20 minutes, some odd. And I mean, I'm so up to date now, I feel like I'm ahead of chronological order to the point where, I pretty much see how the game is lining up right now, And no, even though I criticize Tiffany for being the most willing to flip on the 6, I do not expect her to do anything crazy towards the 6 this week. Because the only way to really get Xavier out is to have Big D and Hannah on the block next to him. Tiffany will never throw up Hannah and Big D because both of them could get Coin of Destiny. So at the end of the day, even if she wanted to turn on the 6, Xavier's probably the last guy she would turn on first. So at the end of the day, this gives me reason to believe Tiffany is going to follow through with her plan, finally. And this week should be relatively smooth depending on what envelopes which people got. But see, my thing is, how did production determine which envelopes you grab? Like, was it based off when you got eliminated from the HOH, you just grabbed one? Because, see, that's the thing. And by Xavier throwing it so fast, like, if I'm him and if I had to grab the first envelope, I'm going for one towards the back. Have you ever been to a supermarket, Coach, and you see some food in the freezer or food, like, in the fridge area, and you see the food right in front of you and you go, this probably expired. You always go to the food in the back. That's just the smart thing to do. I used to work at a few supermarkets. I know the trick. You always want to go to the food in the back because that's the food that will last the longest, right? 9 times out of 10. Because you are taught when you stock shelves to put the oldest food in the front because you don't want nothing to go bad, right? You want to make sure you make as much revenue as possible off every good, right? Now, I know I'm getting in too deep with the logistics of it, but my point is the same thing applies here. So I'm ready to answer y'all questions, ladies and gentlemen. And I feel like this would be a great Q&A type rant now because I pretty much set the table correctly. Oh, yeah, shout-outs to the Cookout crew. Shout-outs to everyone who's been getting their Cookout T-shirts, ladies and gentlemen. They've been selling like hotcakes in these streets, and I couldn't be happier. Every time someone orders one, I like to ask them, what color did you get? Because I like to see what colors people like. I document these things. That way in the future, I'm going to try to push these colors more often. Rod asked the question, Coach, who do you expect to win the Coin of Destiny? I believe the Coin of Destiny is going to go to Hannah. Now, this is based off Soul Chance, but the problem is, by production now, creating more independent variables, by making it possible for someone like Claire, who just got 100 last week, so now she's sitting on 100. She gets 100 again by BB vote. She has 2. That means all she needs is the 50 from the envelope, and she's in Coin of Destiny. Production has every incentive in the world to lie and say the fans voted for her to get 100 again. I mean, she probably will because DX is gone and he's like her closest ally. She probably will get it anyway. So let me not even blame production for that part. I am going to blame y'all for the envelopes, but let me not blame her for that part. It does feel like some David Stern type stuff popping off. Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. Y'all out here freezing envelopes and stuff. I wouldn't be shocked if they told Claire, hey, Claire, the envelope you need going to be super hot or super cold. You feel it? She feeling it. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me stop. I'm fooling right now. I'm fooling. But yeah, I think because they made this a more complicated comp, because see, this should have just been between Big D and Hannah. I think production knew that a predictable week with a Cookout HOH and Cookout members getting the twist, they knew they probably lose some subscribers for September's Paramount Plus. I believe this is all to try to get fans to keep watching feeds and make sure they pay for that extra $9.99 or $6.99 or $5.99 next month. It's meant to make them think, wait, there's a chance now, but we know the 6. At this point, this is the strongest alliance ever conceived, and they didn't need a pregame alliance to be this strong. That's what makes it more impressive. Missy Miss asks question, why do you feel Tiffany is so emotional, but Derek Frazier isn't? When have I've never said DF wasn't emotional. Wait a minute now. That has never came out of my mouth. I said Hannah is not an emotional player. I said Xavier isn't an emotional player. Big D has always been emotional, but that comes with the moisture. I was just under the understanding that he gets a pass for it because he belongs to the alphabet committee. Usually, if you belong to the alphabet committee, you get certain special treatment. Now, me, I don't give special treatment out here. All right? If you go watch my BB23 rants, you know that's a fact. But Big D, so far, from a gameplay standpoint, the last few weeks, he has not done anything wrong. You know, that's why I'm not going out of my way to talk about how emotional he is, because he's logical enough to choose the 6 over anyone. That makes him at least less emotional than Tiffany. So that's my answer to your question, Missy Mist. Jacob Larson asks, do you think Derek F. stealing Tiffany's HOH will cause a rift? Absolutely. Absolutely. Am I petty for rooting for that? You know, listen, I'm going to keep it funky. It would be the greatest form of karma on earth. And at the end of the day, it ain't as if Big D is doing it to get out a Cookout member. So that's why I'm rooting for it. I would love to see the scenes because you got to understand, this past week, Tiffany talked about Claire like she was a used tissue. She talked about her like she was a used dish rag. She talked about her like she was a towel you ain't washed in 2 weeks and it's getting a little sour and funky. You know what I'm talking about, college students. You can't wash your clothes every day when you're in college. You got to get your coins up and stuff. I know what you're going through. I know the struggle. But at the end of the day, Coach, make no mistake about it here, it would be the greatest form of karma in Big Brother history for Big D to send Claire home during a Tiffany HOH. But with that said, that's not best for the 6 necessarily, because I can see SB as the biggest immediate threat now to the 6. I'm not going to be emotional. I'm going to be logical. I'm going to be an example for other people to follow by saying, I prefer Hannah to get the coin of destiny. Hannah will most likely do what needs to be done to ensure SB's departure. And that's best for the 6 heading into next week. So, listen, I gave you both sides of it, and I still was able to come to a logical solution. That shows you why I am superior to a lot of these other creators. Nanye says, what is Tiff's path to Final 2 right now? Honestly, her only path to Final 2 is if she's in Final 3 with Kylan and Hannah or Xavier and Hannah takes her. I think Xavier takes Hannah before Tiffany. I don't think Xavier lets Tiffany make Final 4. I don't think Kylan lets Tiffany make... I think Kylan might be more willing to take Tiffany further. But I think Big D isn't willing to take Tiffany far. I think Ozza isn't willing to take Tiffany far. Xavier isn't willing to take Tiffany far. And this past week probably showed Hannah how selfish Tiffany is towards her game too. I mean, Tiffany tried to tell Hannah this week. Hannah said, what if we keep DX and then Xavier wins HOH in 2 weeks? I win the veto. What do I do? Tiffany told Hannah to her face, let Nam stay the same. Hannah said, I will lose DX's jury vote if I do that. Tiffany said to her, DX isn't a vengeful person. This man's entire campaign is about vengeance towards SB, and you're trying to create the argument in front of Hannah that he isn't vengeful? If Hannah is as good of a player as I believe she is, stuff like that she's going to hold on to. And see, you got to also understand, a lot of the moves Hannah can claim she played a role in, Tiffany can share. It doesn't benefit Hannah to be in Final 2 with Tiffany. Call me crazy, it benefits Hannah to be in Final 2 with just about everyone in Cookout but Xavier over Tiffany. So this is why I think Tiffany's route to Final 2 isn't highly probable. I don't foresee it. Now, here's the thing. People keep throwing HOHs to her, you never know. But so far, the only HOHs she ever had any chance of winning happened to be the HOHs people threw. So, as of right now, she still isn't a comp beast. As of right now, she still is a liability in these comps. Yeah, the envelopes are BS, Whisper. They are BS. But like I said, they got to keep some reasonable doubt there that the Cookout might not make Final 6. Also, keep in mind the triple eviction will occur during that great moment where all these black people presumably all make Final 6, which is a bit of a buzzkill. So, but you got to ask yourself, if you were a member of the Cookout, who would you prefer taking out in that triple? Because the triple occurs during Final 7, Final 6, Final 5. So it will lead to Final 4, according to my information, my intel. Whoever's left over out of SB, Claire, or Alyssa, in theory, goes first. Then you got to decide on the 2 people out of the 3 on the block that you send home. I believe that's how triples work. Why wouldn't the 6 want Tiffany and Kylan gone the most? Why wouldn't they? In their minds, Tiffany is probably the most insufferable player on the block for 7 days. If she happens to be turned on, she probably would be insufferable to them. They probably want her gone immediately. Big D might be the other guy that may be insufferable to this group, but I just don't see Azza, Kylan, and Xavier prioritizing Big D leaving. I just don't see that scenario. I think all of them look at Big D as someone that they can beat. I think Big D's only chance of winning, call me crazy, is next to Kylan. That's why this game, I'm telling y'all, the end game is going to be so good this season. I get it. The mid game could have been more entertaining. I get it. The high roller room was a bit of a flop. I get it. But what y'all got to understand is when every single member of this alliance makes the end, it's going to create even more bitterness when people realize I'm on the bottom of this black stuff. It's going to hit different. And tonight, I didn't even see DX get goodbye messages, did he? Which makes me think there could be a battle back because I ain't seen no goodbye messages. But then again, nah, jury management purposes. Let's be real. When Brittany got sent home, we saw Xavier give her a goodbye message. We saw him, get back into that Lucius mode when he just smooth talked her to death and got Brittany's vote. So, yeah, why didn't DX get any goodbye messages? I think Brittany getting the goodbye messages is proof there is no battle back, especially with CV. But it's the idea that DX didn't. Maybe they had time constraints. Maybe that's the excuse. Yeah. And they probably feel as if DX is such a popular person, they can push his majority of his interview to another platform or domain, and they believe that's going to do a lot of big numbers because of how much support he has. All right, I get it. I get it. Financially speaking, that was pretty savvy. Pretty savvy. Jay Griff. Shout out to Jay Griff. Jay Griff been around for a long time, man. It's good to see you, Coach. The Cookout is talking about nominating Kylan, Sarah Beth, and pretending Kylan is the target to the house. That's better than Big D. If you were to throw a Big D in that situation, Tiffany, oh no, he using that coup d'etat, Coach. He clapping back. He can't throw Tiffany up, but boy, Claire would be sent to the shadow realm. But yeah, so I'm mainly nervous about Claire being handed this twist somehow by some chicanery. That's what I'm scared of. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think it's possible. And my thing is, if everything relies on a coin flip, why would production prioritize a scenario where more than 2 people have a shot at it? At least if it's just 2, they can call heads or tails. If it's more than 2, how do you determine who gets the twist? Do they share the twist if they get the coin toss right? Or do you just eliminate people who get each coin toss wrong and you keep coin tossing until there's 2 people left? How does that even work? It's confusing. And I think they want us confused. So we stay intrigued. Nanya asked the question, did you peep Big D attempting to cheat off Hannah in the HOH? No, I didn't peep that, Coach. I got to watch that back. Yeah, it is another anti-Cookout twist via envelope, Steve. Oh, and Steve, you're definitely a patron as well. Here is your affinity stone, Coach. Use it well. You feel it, dig me? Use it well. Miss Vonnie says they have to rig now because they keep saying the Cookout is you said it, not me, but you have a point there, Coach. On fees, they are still holding on to them. I think they keep it and bring it to the high rollers. Yeah, that's the rule. They cannot open it until the high rollers room because they want them to open it in private. And they don't want the Cookout to be able to compare notes about the money so that way they can organize a plan on how to use. That's why they created that rule. If it's not a rule, listen. Everyone used complete conjecture to get Brittany out of this game based off information they shouldn't have even known that she had 100 BB bucks. In my opinion, production interference played a role in that. Now a week later, production tries to interfere to get DX to save himself 4 different times. Now you mean to tell me a week later these envelopes here and I'm not supposed to have the same type of skepticism? I'm just saying, man, listen, I wasn't born yesterday. You know what I mean? Come on, dog. Now with that said, though, I believe this Cookout Alliance is so strong, we gonna make it through this anyway. You know what I mean? Listen, they thought this high roller room was going to be the White Walkers from Game of Thrones. They did not know that the Cookout had Valyrian steel on deck. Can we keep it real in these streets? Huh? They did not know we had Valyrian steel. All right? And raw sex appeal. We ain't playing games. We ain't playing. Nanya asks, who do you think Tiff will nominate? Well, now it appears it will be Kylan and SB, so I'm kind of cheating now. But before this, I thought it would have been SB and Alyssa. But it makes sense that it would be Kylan and SB from a house narrative standpoint. That makes sense. That's the best way to cover the 6. It's also the easiest way to get SB out without her thinking she is the target to Tiffany necessarily. So it should go pretty smooth. And when you take into context the fact that SB right now probably only has $50 to her name because she didn't play last week, but she played the first week. Also, Alyssa spent her 125 after she got the 75 on top of her 50 last week, so she's down to 0. So at the end of the day, even if Alyssa gets 100 from this envelope, she can't compete in this. The only person who can still compete in this is Claire, and that's why I'm getting y'all focused on Claire this week. Production wants her to sabotage this. They want Claire to get revenge for being on the block the last 2 weeks. They want Claire to now serve the DX purpose of splitting up the 6 before the 6. That's why I kind of wouldn't mind Big D getting her out with that twist, just to send production a message like, hey, we ain't going. Sarah Matthews asked the question, will you still celebrate if a black... Yes, Miss Sarah, absolutely. I told the patrons yesterday, I don't care. I would love to see it if Ozza won the game. I would love to see it if Hannah won the game. You feel what I'm saying? Like, just because I hold Tiffany accountable and don't see a path for her to make the end doesn't mean I don't want Ozza or Hannah to win. I want someone black to win. I'm just aware Xavier is the most deserving winner. But you've never heard me say I think Kylan deserves to win before Hannah. I think Big D deserves to win before Ozza. I haven't said these things. All I said is I think Big D could beat Kylan. You see me? Like, my words are crafted specifically so people can't put me in traps or something or snares. Like, I always say what I mean, and I don't hold my tongue. So at the end of the day, Coach, I have no problem with a black woman winning this game. I just could see that people were using fake feminist talking points to justify why they wanted DX to stay, because they wanted him to really win the game. And my job was to get y'all to see it before it happened. That way y'all wouldn't fall for it. Shout outs to Miss Selena with the super chat, Coach. I thought you super chatted 2 super chats ago. It's good to see you, Coach. It wasn't me, but you it wasn't me, but you deserve it, Coach. Thank you. I appreciate you, Coach. I thought it was you on the low. For some reason, I thought it was the same picture. Because, you know, when the super chat happens, you just see the price. You don't really see the name. So, like, I'm just looking up, like, is that Miss Selena? But, yeah, so I have no problem with a black woman winning this game. I have no problem with black women that have played this game. I just don't like it when we are super hard on these black men and we're quick to hold them accountable for non-game related stuff. But then when it's game related mistakes Tiffany makes, oh, let's sweep that under the rug for her. Nah. See, that's that double standard I'm talking about. And if people really want to create the argument black women are the least protected, y'all got to hold them accountable to prove it. Disney Crazy asks, who do you think will be the last non-Cookout member standing? I think Hannah's going to win this game. Xavier revealing to the world he trusts Hannah the most, it impressed me. I was happy to hear it because it shows me the continuity in his game. He has an honor and code to his game. And that is respectful. That's something worth saluting to me. I also am happy about this because now people can stop bashing Hannah so much because she did make the right decision. I could see Xavier doing all the hard work to get a final 3 that involves Big D and a Hannah. Hannah win the final HOH, wins the game next to Big D. All of us could see it. Now, in that same light, though, I could see a scenario where I could see a scenario where Big D possibly cuts Hannah over Ozza, and then the final 3 ends up being Ozza, Big D, and Xavier. I could see that as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but if I had to say who I think will be the last one standing based off their gameplay so far, I think it will be Hannah. She has a very low profile. She has just as much of a low profile as Ozza, but I think she has more of an ability to win a lot of these memory-based comps than Ozza. And I think the fact that Tiffany will never come for Hannah should also benefit Hannah's game if Tiffany's taken out first among the 6, because Hannah should be viewed as someone alone, juxtaposed to the jokers who have each other, and the two other black men who are viewed as massive threats to win. I just see a scenario where if Tiffany is taken out first, Hannah could be the last one standing as a result. I hope that made sense. Rod says he sees Claire getting that coin. Oh, I see it too, Coach. I see it too. That's why I'm keeping y'all eyes on the ball. This is the Claire twist. You feel me? This is the crypto Claire envelope twist. Jacob Larson says, why would Claire steal Tiffany's HOH? Because Tiffany would get out SB. She wouldn't get out any of these black men. So, Jacob, the reason why she would change it is because for Claire's game, she knows if the noms are Kylan and SB on the block, Claire knows she guarantees Xavier leaves if she replaces those two with Big D and Hannah. That's why Claire would do it. Because Xavier is her biggest target. She says out loud Big D is who she wants out the most. But nobody wants Big D out the most. It's always Xavier, you know? And that's why for Big D's game, he needs Xavier to make it to Final Five. Kylan needs Xavier to make it to Final Five. Like, and that's why these brothers, they got to have each other's back at least until Final Five. See, and that's why Tiffany tried to get these sisters to come together. But once again, your gameplay early in the season doesn't reflect your talking points right now. Xavier has been playing this game, keeping all these black folks together from the start. If he were to create the narrative, he wants Big D and Kylan to stick together, that's believable to them. Because the continuity suggests it makes sense based off his prior actions. Tiffany is doing stuff no one has seen her really do that much because she just always pines over Claire. Now all of a sudden when DX is being put to the fire, now all of a sudden Claire don't mean nothing to you? You spent 50 BB bucks last week for this girl. Now she's nothing to you? How does that make Azza feel? Oh, if you can just dispose of Claire so easily, you'll do the same to me. So I need to make this clear to people who don't realize that Tiffany created her own scenario here where she isn't trusted by black people. She created this, you know? Chuck laughing. Thank you, Nanye, for marketing the Patreon for me in the cut. I appreciate it. Y'all know them Patreon exclusive rants I can really unleash. I'm like Rock Lee taking off the ankle weights at the tune-in exam. You feel it, dig me, right before he fought Gara of the Sand. That's basically who I am on Patreon. To the public, we got to be a bit professional. But on Patreon, they know, man, I'm here to entertain, but also give them that A1 game. Budgie says they will put the amount they want in the envelope. Ooh, that is a great take there. That's a great take. Cameron says if Tiffany does not put SB up as an initial nom, is she in the same position Frenchie was after his HOH reign? That's a great question. I get what you're saying. If she makes her entire game about getting SB out, only to not prioritize getting SB out after she took out DX, yes, I agree. That is a great question. You know what? You deserve an Infinity Stone. That's a great perspective on the game right there. You're right. If she doesn't target SB, at least initially, it won't make her look good. Now, based off the feeds, based off the chat room, they're basically making it seem like it's going to be Kylan and SB anyway, so we can avoid that. But I appreciate your comment, though, because it was well thought out. Venti says Tiffany's been getting on my nerves lately. If the cookout makes it to the 6, I hope she's the first out. That's the thing. I think a lot of black people are rooting for the same thing. And it's not because we're anti-black mothers. It's not because we're anti-black women. It's because Tiffany, she made her bed. And honestly, most of us think Azza and Hannah have done. We feel like Azza and Hannah have done less to compromise the 6 than Tiffany has. I've liked Big D ever since Christian left. That was when Big D started to wake up in this game. Well, before Christian left, because really Big D and Azza are the reason why Christian left. So honestly, week 5 was when I saw Big D and Azza start to turn a corner on their game. And ironically enough, that was when Tiffany's game started to spiral out of control. It's like a mirror effect what's going on. Where do I join the talk when the rant is not on YouTube? You join Patreon. That when the rant isn't on YouTube, it's on Patreon. Patreon.com/recency bias radio, B Grizz. Um, Black Beauty says, Dave, why don't you have call-ins? The reason why I don't have call-ins is because I used to have guests on my show. And what happened was people, they would send me messages and say, Dave, you're too good at this. I feel like you're taking away from your greatness by allowing other people to share the stage with you. Some people are just solo acts. I feel like that's who I am. That's who I've always been. For that reason, I don't do call-ins. Now, I might take your advice for patrons in the future, do call-ins for them, because I honestly do want to hear more of what they think. But at that same time, though, I want to make sure that that's a perk provided for the people that I believe who are with RBR the hardest. So if I do decide to do that in the future, it will probably be a Patreon exclusive thing. Aaron Taylor says, did that roulette wheel make X have to win out to make it to those final 2 chairs when they get to the final 6? No. Because Hannah wants X in this game. Big D wants X in this game. And Kylan should also want X at least in this game until Final 5. I don't think X has to necessarily win out. I mean, but there's an argument to be had here that his profile could be a bit too high as soon as everyone else is gone. There's an argument to be had there. Oh, dang, Momo. Okay, you doing the online thing? Okay, I get it. Yeah, when you away in abroad, coach, like whether that's out of state or in state, you got to wash them clothes, and you don't have it as easy as you did growing up where you could just wash your clothes whenever you decide to. Now, in college, man, it's hard to come across them quarters, man. It's hard. I mean, you broke enough in college as it is. You want ramen noodles and all that stuff, but Patrice Wyatt asked question, do you think that Tiffany will be the first Cookout member? Yes, Miss Patrice. I think she will be. If she isn't the first evicted, I think it'll be Kylan. The way the game is set up right now. But, like I've always said, things are subject to change. If Tiffany goes about her game this week as HOH in a manner where she hears everyone out within the 6, and she isn't problematic, she doesn't throw her weight around, and she doesn't attempt to be some form of a tyrant, then I believe she can work her way back in with some people. But I think Ozza will remember how Tiffany treated her. I think Big D will remember her shouting at him. I think Xavier will remember how hard Tiffany made his job this week by making him have to take all these punishments, and then she tries to spit in his face, proverbially, by trying to keep DX after X took all them punishments to get him out. I think a lot of people is like, listen, Tiffany, you showed us your true colors. So when it happens, it happens. Steve P says, who do you think Tiff's initial noms are? I already answered that because I already gave him his Infinity Stone. All right, I think I've been answering some questions tonight. I've been going through. Yeah, there is a Patreon app, Big Grizzly. If you download it and you become a patron, hey man, you could be in all of these conversations with us all the time. We're always cracking jokes on Patreon and stuff, like, you know what I'm saying? I posted one thing of Christian clowning DX on Twitter. It had people rolling on the low. I ain't gonna say nothing else though. It's an inside joke. I ain't gonna give away the recipe like DX. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed yourself tonight. I don't want this rant to go on too long. My freestyle rants are meant to make people laugh, give people a lot of rapid fire information, and to get them back on side, get them back centered towards the goal. And the goal has always been the mission, and the mission has always taken precedent over everything else. And for that reason, DX, I want to take this moment out to tell you that we respect the game you have played. We are in no way downplaying your contribution to making the 6's ride to the end easier. You contributed to a black winner yourself. You should hold your head high. You should hold your head high because of that. You contributed to this game changing forever, DX. And I believe you are also an example of how this game has changed forever, because I believe your archetype in previous seasons, because of how territorial, let's say, that other casts tend to play, I think this was the perfect season for DX to be an AFP, for DX to be a household name, for DX to be so loved. You know, I know that there are a lot of fans who are mad at certain Cookout members because they got DX out, but I just want to leave the fans with this. DX wouldn't have had the opportunity to be so loved if the Cookout didn't allow it to happen. Think about that. And I'm going to leave you with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you could, please don't forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share with all the fans of Big Brother 23 that you rock with, Coach. I'm Dave Smith for Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. Until next time, the Stones, they have a mind of their own. If I snap, you'll disappear. Unfortunately, like the Thousand Dragon just did. Good game, DX. You play like a